My brother and I, we grew up in this little small town of maybe 1,000 people out in Kahoma, Texas. And so my brother was very gullible. He had only been in Austin 11 months. Martin got his bachelor's in business. He worked for One Main Financial. And so he'd give out like loans and all that good stuff. You know, he was young, he was 25. He had abs that went down to here, you know. Yeah. You know, he was very fit, he was very athletic. He was one of like the best swimmers I ever met.
He's usually pretty chill and relaxed, and I mean, I personally have drank with him numerous times. He's able to hold his alcohol just fine. Like, he was always very put together, and able to handle himself.
Mitchell contacts me, hires me to investigate the oddities in his brother's death on Lady Bird Lake, and we're here to catch a serial killer.
We never drank and drive, we never did drugs, we never did anything like that. We would just drink, and if we felt too drunk, we'd take an Uber home. That was it. I mean, we'd even if we weren't drunk or anything, we just didn't want to risk it. You know, we didn't get this education from our schools and everything to lose our licenses and everything, right? We were just very boring dudes, man. Like, we loved it. We went to the gym, we went to work, and we lived life.
Inseparable. That's the kind of relationship Mitchell Gutierrez had with his brother Martin. But those days were tragically cut short on November 19th, 2018.
No one has seen Martin Gutierrez since early yesterday morning after a night out on Rainey Street.
I was the first one that noticed he didn't come home because I was there, he was at work.
Back then, my schedule was 6:30 to 2:30, Monday through Friday. So I would get off at the hospital, make my way from Round Rock, get into South Austin where we lived, and then I'd get us ready, you know, I'd get our protein bars, our pre-workouts, all that. We were clockwork. That's what we did every day. Anyways, he didn't show up.
His keys were on the counter, and his phone was going to voicemail, and that's very unlike him.
He always showed up at 5 after he got out of work. I was like, hey man, where you at? I'm ready to go. Never answered.
And then I remember that night, it was like midnight, we never got a hold of him, phone going to voicemail. I told him, if he is not back tomorrow morning, we're calling the police.
You were obviously in this from T to grade. From your perspective, tell me what happened starting the night that Martin went missing.
So there was a big group of us that had gone out that day, and then we went out for dinner.
Y'all go to dinner, get there about 8. You eat at what restaurant?
It was called Third Base.
Third Base.
West 6th.
And your brother rode with you and your wife. Mm-hmm. You finished dinner, let's say around 9:30?
Yeah, give or take.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're both nurse practitioners. We both had to work the next day. So we went home, and a friend of ours did take Martin with a group of his friends out to Rainey Street.
He wanted to keep watching football, so that's when he was like, hey, Len, you know, what are you up to? You know, who's our good buddy? And he's like, hey, man, we're off of Rainey Street just watching football as well, just hanging out. You're more than welcome to come.
How does he leave the location, though? Does he Uber?
He Ubered, yep.
Which is typical.
That's what we do.
Okay, so he Ubers. How far is it from Third Base to Rainey?
Not far, you know, maybe a couple miles, if that.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
So he Ubers down there. Let's say that he gets there a couple of miles. He's there by 9:45, 10 o'clock at the latest.
They were only at this one bar for like maybe 5 minutes. He was never served anything, but the bar that they went to second was this bar called Luster Pearl. And that's where my brother purchased one drink, and my buddy bought him one drink as well.
So you have receipts from Martin buying a drink and then Lynn buying a drink around. Now, did Martin buy a round, or did he just buy one?
Nope, just bought one.
Just bought one. So we know he had 2 drinks right there.
Yes. They were here maybe an hour or so, came around to this bar, which back then was called Alibi.
So they leave as a group collectively, and they literally walk next door. I want people to understand that it's like walking from your neighbor's house to the next house over.
Right here. Yeah.
He goes in. Does Lynn buy a round for everybody, or?
Yeah, so when they go into Alibi, oh yeah. But the bartender would not serve Martin because of his behavior. By the time he got to Alibi, my brother couldn't really stand. His communication was completely off.
What time did they leave there and go to Alibi?
So it had to be a little before 12. I have a receipt of Lynn closing out his tab at Alibi at 12:32 a.m.,
Okay.
which Martin was not served at Alibi. You know, they didn't give him water, nothing. They were like, this guy's kind of drunk, we're not gonna serve him anything, you know, so they didn't serve him anything. And they were here for, you know, once again, about an hour or so, if that.
So the bartender immediately recognizes that he is probably intoxicated. Won't serve him.
They didn't serve him anything. My buddies were like, okay, like, all right, just we'll let him be, let him sober up or something like that. I mean, we used to go out all the time, you know,
Right.
but to have Martin's behavior like that, it was just out of the norm.
And him leaving alone was bizarre in itself. We always stuck with the group. We never really were
He's got
leaving
3
places
friends
alone.
inside.
Yeah, he's got friends inside. He left from behind the building, so it was kind of weird that, and the bathrooms are in the back of that building.
There's the bathroom area that goes to the back. So when my brother got up from his stool, went to the back, my buddies thought, okay, he's going out to the restroom or whatnot.
So I'm thinking maybe he was either on a phone call back there or he was in the bathroom, walked around, and then I'm not sure if he went back in, or I don't think he even said goodbye.
My buddies were still inside here. They never saw him leave. So maybe about 8-10 minutes later, my buddy texted Martin. He was like, hey man, where you at? Didn't get a text or anything. So he assumed that he got an Uber and just went home because he was acting different.
25-year-old Martin disappeared after a night out on Rainey Street. Video from bars showing him behaving oddly.
He was leaning on the bar like this, and then there was a couple that was next to him here in Alibi. He was trying to talk to him, and he was just kind of like going off, and you could see that girl was like, Martin was a very social guy. He could make friends with anybody, you know, so to see his behavior like that, it wasn't him. My brother was a bulky, powerlifting kind of guy. So when he was coming around the corner here, the evidence that we saw, we did get to see the surveillance here at Alibi, and he was skipping. My brother does not skip.
When you first saw the video, what was your first thought?
The video of him leaving? Because the video of him
Alibis.
skipping out of the bar was bizarre to me. That's not his normal behavior. And it's like a skip, like
Right.
by himself. So that is very weird.
I'm going to tell you, I like working out. I used to work out a lot. I never skipped. Martin didn't go skipping down the road. Something affected him.
My brother was normal at the first bar, came to this bar, was not normal at the third bar. Something happened in this place.
Lester Pearl was the bar that he was at, and that's where we're headed now. Inside the bar on the first floor, there are 4 security cameras looking out into the body of the bar as well as pointed at the cash registers. Outside, there were 12 cameras. So I walked down the street towards Lady Bird Lake. I counted 18 separate cameras along that road. You should have been able to see every step that kid took.
We went through each house trying to get surveillance, you know, each location, each bar, anything, even houses around the local areas, trying to see what we could get.
We obviously don't really know what happened that night, but we did walk through and get video footage from multiple bars that were willing to cooperate with us.
I'd get it, then send it to Detective Donovan, and he would get back to me like a day or two later. Like there was no like pep in the step.
And they showed up days later. We had already cleared all these bars, asked as many questions as we could, told everybody like we need footage from this date and this time or this date and this time. We tell the detectives obviously as well. They were very poor at communicating, but we would shoot them texts like, hey, this bar has camera footage. They can't release it until you show up. It was Thanksgiving, so it was like 3 days later, they're showing up and just, I mean, they asked for the wrong date, wrong time. They didn't get the right footage, and then by then it's erased by the time they realize.
I felt like the majority of footage that we got was more than the police got.
We had it set up so perfectly for them to have so much information from these bars and bartenders willing to cooperate. Very little of them, but we did have bars that they found the footage, they were willing to cooperate.
Yeah.
They can't give it to us, and we understood that. We never pushed anything. We were like, okay, we'll let the detective know and he'll be by and he can come get it from you.
This bar here refused to give us any surveillance until their manager got back from the holiday. It was around Thanksgiving holiday. They finally came into town, the police got with them, they gave them the surveillance. Well, they gave the surveillance for Monday night, Tuesday morning. They didn't do Sunday night, Monday morning, which is when Martin went missing. They gave us the wrong date of the footage and deleted what we needed, and I never figured out what happened to my brother.
Did the police ask for the wrong days, or did the bar provide them with the wrong days?
There were 2 police officers during the search that asked for Monday night, Tuesday morning, asking for the wrong date of footage again. There was 2 officers doing that, and they were belligerent. The staff called me personally because they had my number from the flyers. And so they called me saying, hey, I just wanted to update you. The police were being really rude, this and that, and they were asking for the wrong date. And I was like, this is their job to figure out what happened, all this, and they can't even get the right date. Either way, they deleted it quick. During an active investigation like this, you figure maybe we should hold on to something to protect not only our staff or what's going on. What are they hiding?
That would be basic law enforcement 101. Get video of every step he took, get video of everybody. And for some reason, that was not done. So there was never any evidence of Martin being there outside of a couple of receipts. The video surveillance, that's something that bothers me. You look for finite points of interest, and here's one. Here's where we're going to start. One of 3 things happened to Martin in Luster Pearl. One, either one of his 3 buddies roofied his drink, gave him GHB, something, or the bartender did, or somebody they met at the bar. That's your only possibilities. Of course, we'll never know that because Luster Pearl doesn't have any video from their 12 cameras.
Nothing. We never got any explanation or any answers. We asked multiple times if we could get it. Nope, it's gone. And there was no repercussions, there was no further discussions or anything regarding what had happened or anything regarding getting that footage again.
And that brings suspect into, how do you make a mistake like that?
Could this be someone who actually works at a bar that's actually putting something in the drink and then someone else coming along after the fact and scooping them up?
It could be. I mean, this stuff is happening everywhere.
There's sporadic video as Martin moves down the road.
He leaves Alibi and he comes over here. I can bring you over here to the other side. So he came across here and he made it all the way down Rainy Street. So if you start off at the northern end here, go all the way down, there's a roundabout. And so on the corner of this roundabout, there used to be a bar called Craft Pride. And I could see my brother and he's on his phone and he's just looking down, so he made his way from Craft Pride, which was right here on the corner, and then made his way across over here, which is when he got onto I-35, the service road over here. And that's where he made his path.
And then winds up headed towards I-35 and walking down the service road, only to manage to come back here, supposedly, and fall off a bridge a quarter mile from where he was at. Just nothing about it makes any sense. It just does not ring true.
The Towers of Town Lake is right here, right off of the service road of I-35. And so that's where we were able to get the most useful evidence that I think we had gotten besides Alibi, but it was showing him going on the I-35 service road, just looking at his phone, looking down. And so that's the last footage I ever got of my little brother. So right here, there's a camera at the Towers of Town Lake. You can see it right there on the parking garage. That was the camera that gave me the footage, seeing my little brother right here walking. And once again, he's still looking at his phone. He's coming like this, and he's walking straight. Here's what doesn't make sense. This area over here. So we got the service road of I-35 coming across here. This Chevron, Towers of Town Lake, and then this little San Marcos road right here. A little road that goes to nowhere. There's no outlets, no nothing. It's just a loop around. Completely dark area. There'd be no reason that he needed to be out there. And this is the last time I ever saw my brother alive, was right here. And I don't know whether he went here or here because the camera footage stopped right here. And there he is. He's just walking towards I-35 and Lady Bird Lake. It didn't make any sense, but he was heading south. It looks like he was going forward, but the Chevron never caught it. We came to the Chevron, we got the surveillance, we looked at it for hours, looking around to see if anyone ever went in front, and he never did. I full-heartedly believe that my brother came down this road for some reason. I have no idea why. I don't know if someone was asking for help or someone was claiming to be an Uber or something like that, but whatever it was, he came down this dark area and I never saw him again.
I mean, my heart just sank. It was shocking to me because we've never gone that way, ever. And he was looking down at his phone in the video footage. We do have a friend named Dana who he was very close with, and she was planning on picking him up after she got off work, but this was before 2 a.m.
Question that I have. You said to me multiple times that Martin used Uber to go everywhere.
Everywhere.
But he stops right about here, and he calls a friend who's a nurse, right? And asks for a ride home. Then he texted her and then called her. So that's way out of character for him.
Yeah, it was different. And then the friend that he called was a great friend of ours, Dana. Registered nurse, like super awesome. Went to nursing school with her. She's great. She's family, like she is. And for some reason, he called her, was like, hey, like, can you give me a ride and this and that? And she's like, oh, I'm still at work. And he goes, oh, okay, well, that's okay. So can you give me a ride? And he kept repeating himself. She goes, he sounded normal, but he kept repeating himself like something was off. Like, so that's what she told me.
From a woman's point of view, why do you think he reached out to her instead of hitting his Uber app?
If he was drugged, I mean, Dana was someone he was super close with. I do think he wanted to spend time with Dana that night. I mean, if you think about when you're intoxicated in any way and you're really, you really are...
Safe place.
Yeah, you're close with someone or you're like craving that person, you want to be with them that night. Right. I'm pretty sure that's why he called her. And him and his girlfriend at that time had like a tiff a few days before, and they weren't, they had a good relationship, but they were not in a good place just those couple of nights.
Having seen his phone records from the time he left Alibi until he called Dana, was there any other texting, any other phone call?
Nothing. I mean, we didn't have his physical phone, but we got into his accounts. I looked at his Instagram, there was no messages. Facebook, there was no messages. Snapchat, there was nothing new. Text messages, phone call logs, everything. And nothing would indicate that he had spoken to anybody besides Dana, or I saw Lynn's text and stuff like that. There was just no data that just showed like he requested an Uber or a Lyft.
With Snapchat, is there any chance he had his location app on that would have shown the last note? He did not.
Yep.
Damn.
I searched. Yep.
Damn. In my mind, I'm wondering, why would he break from the norm to contact this person he's obviously close with, he dated, he has an emotional connection with, that he in some way sensed that something was wrong and he reached out to her as a safety net?
Probably, yeah. She's family,
Yeah. Yeah. But then the flip side of that coin is, why didn't he call you?
I know, exactly. I mean, I knew I had to work the next day, but still. He should have always called me.
Yeah.
Like, I protected that kid. That was my job. Like, he's the youngest, I don't know why he wouldn't have just been like, Gordo, I need a ride. I would have got up and I would have picked him up in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I got the call on Thanksgiving. They were like, hey, your ex-husband, he's missing. And a news article came out. Some kayakers had found a male in his 20s.
But they say, yeah, it's drowning. Why? Because they pulled him out of the water?
And one of the detectives said, do you think it could be suicide? I was like, he was scared of the water. Like, why would he commit suicide in the water?
The sister, why do you think she's suspect?
Whenever he went missing, she never told her parents. She just lied to detectives.
How can the Austin Police Department be so certain that there's nothing suspicious surrounding the deaths of the people who've ended up in Lady Bird Lake?
UTPD was involved as well as APD. They both were kind of they didn't want to do the paperwork.
This is a true problem. Why don't you help us instead of saying ain't nothing going on?